Check, check. Making sure we are live and that you guys can hear me good. And we will get this going. Check, check. Awesome. So obviously you can tell I have another device. Just give me a minute here and then we'll get started. Thank you for watching. Whether you are watching this in replay or coming in live, appreciate you guys being here. And we have a lot of news to go over. So thank you for joining the live stream. If you are here, please let me know where you are viewing from. I would like to say hello to you guys, my subscribers. Until the comments come in. Starting the stream a little later today. I had to take one of my pets to the vet. She's doing great. So things are all good over here. But we have some exciting news to go over. I'm just going to leave it there for a minute. Welcome. We got some people coming in. Got 3 live viewers. That's awesome. I think last live stream we got up to 9, which is, hey, it's growing. That's a good thing to see. Give this about 30 more seconds. We'll get started. But if you are here and watching and able to type, please feel free to drop a comment below and say hello. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, so let's get started. And we got to start off with this. The Fed is talking about cutting rates. And Powell says the time has come to adjust policy. So this is really important. And we're going to take a look at some of the historical data to see what this means for the market. Now, for any of you guys who are subscribed to this channel, you'll know that I like to say that we have to take what the market's giving us and we don't want to live and die by predictions. But we also can't ignore historical data as well and see what has happened before based off rates. And I have a couple good charts to show you guys that I think will give us a clear picture on which way we may be going, in my opinion. So we'll just skim through this article quick. Powell says that the time has come for policies to adjust. So that would more than likely mean the next time they can cut rates, which is in September, that they are probably going to cut rates. The bigger question, the key question that you guys need to pay attention to is whether the rate cuts are going to be 25 or 50 basis points. I'm just skimming through this article, seeing if they talk anything about that. So they're talking about getting to 2% inflation, of course. He's dovish. Here we go. I don't think the bar for 50 basis points is particularly high. That's important to know. Because if we see the Fed cutting rates very fast and very heavily, that is going to be bearish in more of the short term. So let's just close this out for a second. And do I want to get to those charts? Sure, I'll come back to these. But I found a couple good charts on marketwatch.com. And I love MarketWatch. It's a great website, no sponsor. I'm not sponsored by anyone. But I go to this site to look at balance sheets. It's one of the easiest sites to use if you're taking a deep dive into Bitcoin mining stocks or any stocks. But if you guys just see this is the last handful of rate cuts that we've had. And you'll see that when the Fed is cutting by 50 basis points, the S&P, the markets overall, tend to be bearish in the following years. But in the last number of live not just live streams, but stock videos, I've talked about this 1998 scenario that I'm feeling is becoming more and more likely that we might fall into, where if they do 25 basis points and cut a little bit, this is a scenario I could see playing out. And of course, I could be wrong, but that they cut by 25 basis points a few times, who knows how many, and then inflation starts to come up a little bit. And then the Fed pauses and raises rates. And what happens when the Fed has paused and raised rates? Well, the markets have gone up. And right now we are in an AI bubble, just like the dot-com bubble. We'll go back and forth between the charts here. I believe that this AI bubble we've been in since the bottom of 2022, and I mean, just think about the amount that we've gone up in this amount of time. Within a couple of years, the stock market's gone up 62%. That's crazy. That is not typical. But if we go back to the dot-com bubble right here, this marks when the Fed started cutting rates by 50 basis points. I didn't put it in here when they first were cutting. It was around this time, somewhere in here. Let's go back to that chart. Yeah, September of 98 is when they started cutting by 25 basis points. So let's find September. So as you can see, the markets fell a little bit into the rate cuts. We just had a little bit of a fall not too long ago. But what happened after the Fed started cutting rates in 1998? People were already talking about this being a bubble back here. But then it went even more berserk. So if we have a 1998 style rate cut, I know the recession talk's starting to pick up, and I do see that on the horizon. But if we see 25 basis points and then sticky inflation and they hold, I could see stocks getting up to one of these levels, whether it be the low 6,000s or even the high 6,000s. Wouldn't that be crazy? So before we move on to another chart, again, just know that if they're cutting heavy and fast by 50 basis points, that's been bad for the market. But if it's 25 basis points, we still have room to run. Now, obviously, what happened eventually, you can see here in the charts, and it doesn't quite show red in years 3 through 5, but that was pretty bearish for the markets. And this reflects what I'm talking about as well. So you can see that the markets tend to correct in either scenario, whether we tend to be bearish or bullish, into the rate cuts. The rate cut is this zero line right here. And if we have a 1998 style correction, which right now the signs are pointing to that, Jerome Powell, the chair of the Fed, is talking about only cutting by 25 basis points at 50. Doesn't seem necessary right now. Then stocks, crypto, everything could go up. We could still see our 4-year cycle. Let's make sure I'm on the right chart here. We could still see our 4-year cycle. Always talked about how crypto has been cyclical. You know, even with the halvings, the halving price progressively goes up in these zones. Some people think the rainbow chart is dead, and I think to a point it's been invalidated, but there's no denying that this is tracking a pattern here. And I am still going to be looking for, possibly later next year, somewhere in those orange zones. Yellow zone to the orange zone, so like 100K to 200K, somewhere in there is my target for Bitcoin. More than likely 150K. That's my safest bet. But again, going back to this, if they start cutting fast and heavy, we're probably going to get more of a correction sooner than later. Okay, this reflects this as well. But if we get just 25 basis point cuts, I think we're going to see something like this. Because again, we are in an AI bubble. That's why I talk about the Mag 7 stocks and videos every week, because it's important to track what stocks like Nvidia is doing, what the overall stock market's doing. And we need to keep track of the stock market and rate cuts and the yield curve, because that ultimately affects crypto as well. Now, as they cut, let's go over to interest rates. And again, I'm going to keep referencing 1998. Okay. We've already established that deep rate cuts, whether here in the great financial crisis, when they're cutting by 50 basis points over and over again, that's very bearish for the market. But here in 1998, when they first cut rates, and people were talking about it being a bubble in here, again, if they cut rates slowly by 25 basis points, and then they pause because inflation's sticky, and then they start to raise rates to really squash inflation, I know it seems opposite to what you would think would happen, but we could see markets have a blow-off top here. Now let's just measure that out. From the time in 1998 when they cut rates, the first time to the second time, that took a couple of years. Now, is it going to take as long this time around? I'm not so sure. Every time is different a little bit. But I think what's important to keep in mind is this scenario would still keep the 4-year cycle validated. And again, we're talking about how each cycle, about every 4 years, you can see the date, December 2013, December 2017, November of 21, though alt season was truly here. Yes, some alts went up higher here with that double top, but alt season, the main part of alt season was here. So would that put us somewhere in between there? Like we can just average this out, somewhere between May and November, July or August of next year. That'd be 4 years out. I think that would tie a nice bow around all these factors. Again, should we get a 25 basis point cut? Because Paul said, I don't think 50 basis points, he doesn't believe that that's going to be likely. Now, of course, things could change. They could change their tune. But I'm going to be watching what the Fed does when they cut rates in September and October like a hawk. And even if they do cut rates heavy, okay, what does this chart show you? That even if they do cut rates, see how many days here? That even within a month or two, we might still have room to go up a little bit, even in the down scenario. We got a comment from Crypto Golfer. Hey, welcome back, buddy. Always appreciate you being here. In my opinion, I don't think it's the fact that it's 50 or 25. It's why they're cutting. That's very true. Usually 50 basis points means the economy is in trouble. I don't believe that this time that's the case. I would agree with that. This time is different. Oh, God. How many times do we hear this time is different? Every time is a little bit different. I agree with that. But each time we'll find ways that it also rhymes as well. Like the amount of time it takes, you can't base things like, look at how I drew Bitcoin here. This is a point. I'm going to give myself some crap for this. Like all because we have an average from the amount of time of when the bottom to the top or whatever happened before, like I drew out here, does not mean that has to happen again. I want to make that very clear. A lot of crypto people, YouTubers, fall into this trap of just living and dying by their predictions. I look at these factors and data as just a range and another indicator. When I chart, I use a variety of indicators, as you see. Trend lines, moving averages, buy-sell signals, stock RSI. I use a variety of indicators that I feel are some of the simpler indicators to use. But again, I don't want my channel to be like overly complicated too into the weeds because we don't have time for that, frankly. Like when I'm checking stocks, truly just on my own, I'm checking once a week. I'm not stressing. I'm looking at my list of stocks and crypto. I have my monthly budget, so I'm not overspending, chasing the hype or the pumps. And I have my plan of is this a good time to buy this stock or this crypto? And if yes, I get into it, I dollar cost average in. If no, I pull that money and I leave it for later. So I don't want to get too much in the game of predictions. Kind of like what you're talking about, crypto golfer. This time is different. Each time is a little bit different. How many people are saying we would top before the halving? Okay, not many people. So you want to be able to execute your plan for when those differences arise. But I do think we are going to see somewhat of a rhyme between what's happened before. And in my opinion, I think that 1998 scenario might be the most similar. Now, yes, things are very different because we don't have a dot-com bubble, we have an AI bubble. We also have had recent inflation issues and COVID and the bullwhip effect. You guys can Google that one. But basically, all these drastic changes to supply and demand, corporate real estate struggles, China with their whole real estate bust going on over there. There's a lot of factors that are different from now to the late 90s. So things are going to be different to a degree. What that degree will be, I don't know. But I have a plan to be ready for it. Let's get into fear and greed. CNN, neutral, cool. This has been going up, just so you guys know. We got down to extreme fear when we had that correction not long ago, and it's bounced up a bit. What's got me cautious is, man, look at pie vesting. Pie vesting was recently getting up into extreme greed. We were in extreme greed not long ago on pie vesting. So, as Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy. So, a couple indicators to look at there. Crypto, let's get into this. I wanted to talk about Bitcoin dominance later. We'll come back to that. And by the way, you guys might not believe me. I swear to God, I don't look at any ads to bring up some of this crap. Like, I use my computer for my own personal pictures and crypto and stocks and stuff. So I don't know why I constantly get these ads from Temu that are just the dumbest, weirdest things ever. I apologize. One day I'll figure out it. I kind of want to change it, but I kind of don't because it's funny to look at. We're still in greed. Crypto is lagging behind the stock market a little bit. Though today it started to pump up. We're going to take a look at that. And I've been talking about each week in the rainbow chart videos how we have been in this downtrend, lower highs, lower lows, greed to fear, and we are making higher lows. So I'm waiting for this to pop up and continue to pop up. But is it possible we come down one more time? I get the feeling we may get one more flush. We only have one data point to look at. We'll get into that a little bit. As far as rate cuts are concerned, with what happened in 2019. But look at that. I was wondering if this was a higher low. You see here, we're in this downtrend, then alt season index. Like, hopefully this stays as a higher low and we might have good opportunities. All of a sudden, that's spiking. And in this video, again, I'm going to get into what are indicators I look at as far as when to buy. Because that's an essential question I always have in so many videos. So many YouTubers, first of all, they make these stupid, outlandish predictions. Ripple going to 10,000, 500 trillion market cap, all this crap. I want to know, is now a good time to buy? When is a good time to buy? Is this the top? Is this the bottom? Is this a good value time or not? And what are some ways to look at that? So I've come up with a variety of different indicators that I cross-reference, and I share those with you guys. So, if any of those do or don't work, we can have an honest conversation about that. As far as the rainbow chart, we're just in between right here. Okay. If we take this out a little bit, actually, let's go to the rate cut time, middle of September. Let's say we're bearish in the rate cuts, kind of like that earlier chart showed us, that markets tend to correct a little bit overall in the rate cuts. So maybe we get into that third box from the bottom, that accumulate box. That would put us maybe down in the 46K range. That's if we continue to go in a bearish direction. I'm not saying it's going to go there, okay? But you can see the top of the still cheap zone, the green box, not the teal one, is almost around 80K. So I think those price targets, 47 to 80K, in the near future are things to look out for. Later on, end of this year, I'm very curious what's going to happen. If we start turning on the jets, I'm going to be on that yellow zone right in the middle at the end of this year. I believe Bitcoin can get around 85 to 100K by the end of this year. There's a lot of signs pointing to that. We'll see if it happens. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So today, a couple exciting things. One, the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell talking about rate cuts, pivoting, rate cuts being likely in September. We have a buy signal on the weekly for Bitcoin. But do note what this candle is. Yes, this is not a long line. This is just a doji. Doji is where you get that box in the middle, pretty much an equal amount of wicks on both sides. That means there's indecision. But we do have a weekly buy signal. We've been in this downward channel. Let's go to the daily, take a look at it. And we broke out of this little wedge pattern here. Let's talk about we were in lower highs, higher lows, and we broke up. Awesome. So we can delete that for now. I'll keep this guy here just in case. I'll be curious to see if we come back to this. But right now on the daily, Bitcoin's showing us something. As we've made this move up, tested that 50-day moving average. You guys see this here. We had that big 30% correction. First 30% correction since the bottom. We've been moving up, and Bitcoin got up to the 200, was holding on to the 200-day, wicked and bounced off the 50-day. That's the orange line. The 200 is dark blue. The light blue is 100. And it was testing the 50, and it moved up. The candle moved up through the 50, wicked through the 100. So next, we want to see the candle at the 100 consistently closing. So if we start closing above 62-ish, I think Bitcoin has a lot of room to run, getting back up to the high 60,000 level. But it could get rejected here. It could make a higher low in the shorter time frame. But just take a look at what happened today when the Fed started talking. Somewhere in here, it's kind of funny. Whenever these big news events happen, I'll see big moves happen into the beginning of the event, and usually it does the opposite. Have you guys noticed that as well? Like we'll sell off into this big news event, and then Paul starts talking, and we start ripping up. Sorry, I don't know what that noise was. But man, right here, holy shnikes. So just within the last day, Bitcoin went from 60,800 to 64. See that right here? Almost 5% up. Gotta love crypto. Crypto is so volatile and crazy, and on this channel, I try to show ways that I try to bring order out of the chaos. Okay, so as far as Bitcoin, I like this look right here. I want to take off that buy-sell signal. This will pretty much confirm it. Let's take a look at the stochastic RSI. Has that flipped positive? Not quite yet. On the weekly, I like when it flips positive. And by the way, guys, this is a DCA strategy I learned about. You can use it. I like it overall. If you want to get more value from dollar cost averaging, one of the things you can do, okay, now I do a number of things. I dollar cost average in more at deeper moving averages, deeper fib levels. I wait for buy signals on longer time frames to confirm based on if we're in a bull market or bear market. But if you dollar cost average in on each stochastic RSI flip when the blue gets above the orange, that tends to be a good time. Now, yes, sometimes you're not going to get the best value. But again, we don't know where the market's going. Bitcoin could rip up to 150K and then you'd be happy you got it here. Or it could come down. Remember what we were talking about with the rainbow chart? Our two targets? Remember that 47K target? Look where that would be. We have some price action over here as well as the 100-week moving average. So I am still eyeing this as the most bearish area. But once this flips blue above the orange, I don't mind getting in. And are you going to get the exact bottom? No. And if you sell near here, are you going to get the exact top? No. If that's a strategy you want to use, long term for investing, whatever. But I've heard this comparison, and I like it, is that you're trying to create an investment sandwich, and you don't need the slices of bread. You want everything in the middle. And overall, that's how it works. It's a patient, good way to plan about it. So buy signals, moving averages, fibs, we go over all those things. Let's reference the rainbow chart again. Remember what we are looking at, when the Fed's going to cut rates, mid-September. If we get bearish, you see that teal box that we dipped into, got above recently. But if we get bearish again into rate cuts, you can see that'd be around 46K. And again, 46K, we have that 100-week moving average. Again, that's if we go down. And as I showed you before, that's not the one, this one. This is the rate cut zero line. You can see there tends to be some little flash crash corrections into rate cuts, even in a bull market. Look at that, flash crash just like we had. So there is some replication here. So if we do flash crash even further, look at how close the average is to the zero line. That's within, I would say, a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks of when the rate cuts would be. And we're about 3-ish weeks, 3-4 weeks from first rate cuts in September, if the Fed keeps their promise. So, could this be a bull trap? We'll see if something like that plays out again. Let's go into, I want to take a look at how stocks, you can see the S&P's flipping positive there, okay? The VIX, we don't need that for the VIX. Man, third highest VIX spike. This is the volatility measurement of the market. Third highest spike since 2008. I think this shows us how much paranoia there is in the market right now. I truly believe that's what this is. We had the yen carry trade unwind. If you want to look up more details into that, you can. But basically, since the yen's so cheap, people are using that to their benefit. Again, there's better videos out there that'll explain it better than me. I know that was a factor here, but I think we've had such low volatility for such a while that when a crazy event like that happens, it spooks the market. Everyone's thinking exactly what we looked at with the S&P. Hey, we've gone up 62% in the last couple of years. That is a crazy, unsustainable rate. Is this it? Rate cuts, yield curve inversion, all this stuff. And then we've already recovered and gone back down to low volatility. So I'm going to use a geology analogy. Sometimes before the really, really big earthquakes, subduction zone earthquakes, if you guys know what those are, like the one in Japan or Sumatra, you get these warning shots. You'll get decently big size earthquakes, but then people kind of ignore it or they forget about it, and then all of a sudden bigger ones come up. So I do wonder if we're going to have higher levels of volatility, maybe 6 months to a year from now, eventually when the recession kicks in. When people start, if we get a 1998 scenario, like I talked about before, where they cut rates, maybe by 25 basis points, hold for a while, and then they're like, inflation's bad, they start raising it again. If we get that type of scenario, you're going to start hearing the narrative, soft landing, soft landing. Once people start truly believing we had a soft landing, I'm going to be scared as hell because complacency is a killer. I'll share something with you guys. One of my hobbies is I fly. Okay, I know how to fly. And complacency gets a lot of good pilots. That's why it's so important to have a checklist. It's the same as if you're a carpenter, an electrician, anything. I have a relative who's an electrician, and he says the same thing. You have to dot your I's, cross your T's, because when you don't, that's when you get hurt. So if all of a sudden you hear everyone getting complacent, euphoric, that's when I would worry. So again, that's why I'm looking at a 1998 type of scenario. I know things are different. Let's move on into the charts. I mean, here's another one, VIX divided by the VVIX. So it's volatility in the markets divided by the volatility of the VIX. When this is dipping down here, we're getting in the bullish times. Okay, US 10-year minus 2-year. This is yield curve inversion. Man, we broke out. Basically, when the Fed raises rates, we invert. And we've been inverted for some record amount of time. But when it crosses above the zero line and stays crossing, that's when you start the timer to eventual recession. Now it can cross and still wait a year or so. So you can see here, this is before COVID by about half a year. But it crossed in December of 2020, crossed in June of 07. By the way, where was this in 1998? Look at that right here. Got underneath in 1998, uninverted, nothing happened. Bullish market. But you notice how it didn't come up here. Okay, it stayed underneath the 1% area. Even stayed under 0.7%. So if we get something similar like this where it's uninverting but staying down here, okay, we're probably still fine. But once it starts to uninvert steeply, that's when you got to watch out. And there's more narrative coming out that I've been noticing in articles about how this doesn't matter. Guys, up to you, but I don't believe that for a second. This has been the most reliable indicator of upcoming recessions. So I do believe a hard landing is coming, but I don't think it's going to be as soon as so many of the fearmongers are saying out there. So right now, it's come back down under the 200-week moving average, and we still have a lot of time. And again, I'm staying in the markets because they can still get more profits for stocks and crypto in the near future, I believe. Unemployment, you guys can see that it's above 4%. Not good. Let's go to Bitcoin dominance. What's Bitcoin dominance doing, reacting to all this stuff? Let's zoom way out here. So in my videos, you guys have known, I've talked about dominance hitting this key level around 57%. That means 57% of all money in crypto is in Bitcoin. That we had to get to there. And you guys notice we touched it. But now we're going down. Look how it's following both these trend lines, by the way. Isn't that crazy how this works sometimes? So we have this trend line from the base of where Bitcoin dominance hit in September. This was go time, by the way, when it hit this area. So it hit that area, but it's also hitting this descending trend line that hit the peak. Truly, this December 2020, that was the break of the former 2017 all-time high. That's when it started to be go time for crypto. So once we start really falling, but you do notice how the trend is descending, or overall has been. I don't know, maybe we get back up to the high 60s. I think just like the last cycle, 2021, because we have more altcoins, I tend to believe that, we might only get to the low mid 60s at best. But isn't it funny how right now it's following this? And right now, when I use trend lines, moving averages, I look for the moving average that a stock or crypto, whatever, likes to follow. Which one does it like the most? It likes the 20-week. And it keeps coming down to the 20-week. Do know that this can come down to the 20-week, tag it. Alts can do well as it comes down, but then we could spike up again. And if it spikes up again, that might be the final flush that we're looking for. Crypto Golfer, 3 p.m. Get ready for the end of the week market itself. Man, I'm laughing because how damn true that is. Yep. Are we having that now? A little bit. This is probably when Paul was talking. Let's go over let's just quick peek at some of these stocks. I'm not a day trader or anything. I don't recommend it. But overall, some positive movement. It's holding up here. Apple's down a little bit. Ew. How about them apples? Or no, that's Microsoft, sorry. I'm blind. Apple's right in the middle. All right, Bitcoin dominance. So, yeah, I'm very curious about if Bitcoin dominance is going to get one more flush spike in here. And doesn't that seem to line up with the other things we're talking about? How, maybe this flash crash already happened, by the way. Or it could have been this one. But this is the average. If we're going with the dark green line here, my 1998 style scenario comparison, maybe this already happened, this big flash crash. Or maybe we got a bigger one coming. Just into rate cuts. We'll see. But I'm very excited right now because what the rate cuts are going to do is going to tell us a lot. Okay. In my opinion, there's no underselling the importance of it. Heavy, fast rate cuts, beware. Low and slow rate cuts, pauses, I think we're still good, at least for the medium time frame. But yeah, I'm eyeing this. Let's take a look at tether dominance. Yeah, take it off log and get rid of these dang moving averages. So for those of you who don't know, Tether is a stable coin. Any of you guys new to crypto? It's a stable coin, and what that means is that 5.4% of all money in crypto is in Tether. Tether always keeps its value at around $1, give or take a percent or whatever. When crypto is getting more volatile and losing money, people will convert their crypto to Tether so it holds that value. And so that's why that tends to be micro or macro bearish for the markets. So when Tether dominance is bullish, we're bearish in crypto overall. This trend line that it's hit a bunch of times, it has signaled the 2017 top. And yes, I know my trend line's not perfect. The 2019 mid-cycle top, the COVID dump, the double top, and now the pre-halving peak. That's what I'm calling it. Let me show you that on this chart. So that Tether dominance line, it hit right here. That's the 2019 mid-cycle top. This is the top before the COVID dump right there. The double peak, and then March, the break of the new all-time high. But right now, Tether dominance is bullish. We have this doji candle. Again, doji means undecided. Okay. But right now we still have higher highs, higher lows. It could come down here. This was one of my scenarios here. If we top early, like end of this year, we'll see if that happens. Kind of want to get rid of it. Not a good artist. Apologize. But unless this breaks underneath the 236, I'm not worried. When I take this off log, I drew this fib, and I was curious. I was like, what happened before 2021? If we are comparing this to 2019, which there's some similarities, some differences. When Tether dominance had that mid-cycle top, what did it do? It was making new highs and new highs. Can you imagine if this happens? Like Tether dominance just freaking explodes. Like, I'm talking way up here. So many people would get flushed out. That'd be horrible. Not saying that's going to happen, but could you imagine? That would suck. So, yeah, that's what I'm watching for on Tether dominance. Let's go back to Bitcoin real quick. So we talked about that 30% correction. Now, as far as rate cuts go, we only have one data point to go off of for crypto as far as what's happened. And I have it drawn out for you nicely with this orange line. 2019, that's when they first cut rates after holding higher for longer. These red circles are 30% corrections, just like the one we just had. Now, I didn't circle here because this was the COVID drop. This was the black swan. Hopefully, we don't get a black swan. World War III scares, China invading Taiwan, Russia launching a tactical nuke, Iran and Israel blowing each other up. Not here to get into politics, but I'm just like throwing out there possible black swan scenarios that seem kind of obvious. That could happen. But, without a black swan, Bitcoin, let's throw in our moving averages again. I'm taking this out of the equation. Sorry if you don't like that. Bitcoin got back to the 100-week moving average. Again, we talked about this a couple times. Okay? Not saying it has to happen. Maybe this is all we're going to get. Okay? Because we do have less volatility each cycle. So maybe we don't go down to the 100. Maybe we only hit the 50. And that's it. But if we do hit the 100, remember, again, we're talking about that 47K area being the bottom of the accumulate zone around the rate cut times. Ugh, this thing's so touchy. You see that teal box at the bottom. So, again, that's if it gets there, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging in a lot harder. And again, what do I look for dollar cost average wise? Well, I have a budget, and as we hit lower moving averages, I feel comfortable budgeting more into the altcoins or stocks that I like. I wait for a buy or sell signal to trigger. We have a buy signal on the weekly. I like that. You can simply dollar cost average weekly buy signals, and overall you'd be good. You can do it on the monthly. I also like to see the stochastic RSI flip positive. It hasn't done that yet. Again, you're not going to get the very bottom. It's hard to get bottoms, but if this was an investment sandwich or a crypto sandwich, I don't need to eat the bread. I just want everything in the middle. I don't need 100% of profits. Okay, don't be greedy. I'm fine with 60, 70, 80% profits. So those are a couple ways I look at it. Of course, I have the fib drawn too. I'll show you guys something here. So with this fib drawn for Link, I did this with Cypher, by the way. I'll go to that in a second. If you would have had a buy order ready, if Link's an altcoin you like, you could have set a buy order at 8.59. Okay, now it has continued to go up. We have this doji. Let's throw on our buy sell signal indicator. I think that's the cleanest, easiest way. No buy signal yet. Let's go to Cypher. By the way, anyone here for some Bitcoin miner analysis, let me know in the comments below. But I threw a buy order on for Cypher at this 373 level. And I was able to get some Cypher stock. Okay, this is one I like, not financial advice for you guys. But you can see, here's one thing. Even though we're red, a reason I was okay dollar cost averaging in and setting a buy order here is because we're holding support very well. This hasn't fallen through the floor and lost support. Now, if it does, okay, I'm not worried. I'm not going to panic sell, and I'm okay being patient and holding for a long time. I'm not buying into stuff I don't believe in. But if it did get lower, I'm going to target this 241 level. So, you guys watching, hope you're all doing well. Feel free to comment. What are some crypto altcoins or Bitcoin miners or stocks that you like right now? Or if you want to look at any technical analysis together, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to share my thoughts. And you can let me know if you agree or disagree. But Cypher, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if it does, you know what? That's fine. I'll get some down here. I'd be happy to get 241 Cypher. We've been looking at Market Watch as far as the assets to liabilities. We saw for Riot, damn, the assets to liabilities is a great ratio. 2 billion, 1 billion, total assets current, 5 to 1. No, that was like a 6 to 1 ratio or something. 8 to 1. Sorry, my math ain't mathing right now. I didn't get good sleep last night. 10 to 1, 9 to 1, something like that. We also want, there's more to it than that, by the way. When I research, I write down a list. What are the 3 things I like the most and don't like the most about any stock or crypto? Then I wait a few days, then I decide, is this something I'm going to get into? Because I don't want to make emotional decisions. I have written down my plan. I stick to my plan. And it has been working for me overall so far. Some stocks I'm still at a loss. Okay? Can't win them all. And I don't want to claim to be, this perfect investor person. Okay? I'm a crypto stock YouTuber. You shouldn't listen to what I'm saying anyways. Ethereum. How's Ethereum doing? It's going up here, hitting these higher lows. Settling nicely at this 618 fib. Okay, it only got to the 100-week moving average once. But man, if you're doing a buy order off that fib, not a bad area. You could target the 100-week next. You could even target the trend line here. Man, I almost got down to it. Somewhere around 2,200 might be a decent area to target Ethereum. Should this get bearish again, I think 2,300, you might get some deep value. You can go to the lower fib if you believe it might get down there. Because we can wick through these trend lines, okay? It's just a trend line. But you could set a buy order, a certain amount for 2,075. Let's start running through some of these stocks just real quick. Okay, NVIDIA, man, what a quick bounce. It's crazy. Crazy. Sometimes, when we don't hit that 50-week moving average, I like to take a look on the daily. Didn't even get to the 200. This is why, by the way, I hope you guys are noticing why I do fibs, Fibonacci retracement, and moving averages, because the combo of both of them is very nice. If it's not hitting the moving average, it's usually hitting a fib. Okay? And then with their buy signals, I like this combo. It suits me well. If you have a certain strategy for investing that you like, feel free to share. Here to learn from each other and help one another. By the way, oh my God, you see that? My fib was not perfect. There we go. That's better. So, is showing some indecisiveness, and NVIDIA had like 10 days up, so I would not doubt, some of these fib levels or moving averages it could come back down to. Nice healthy correction. Even here, it could come down to 111. I would not be worried and still go back up. Microsoft got some rejection at that 236 fib. Daily sell signal, a few bit of resistance moving averages there. Looks like it wants to come down to that 200. So maybe Microsoft, I'd be targeting that 405 area. Maybe 400. That's what I'd be looking at. And Apple, yeah, a lot like NVIDIA. I could see it coming down to this 236 at around 217 and then possibly continuing higher. Amazon hitting resistance here. So kind of like we talked about with Microsoft, maybe it's going to come down to the 200, somewhere around 170. Okay. Hope you guys see like how I'm doing this. Yeah, maybe, the more I'm looking at this, maybe we are going to get one more little flush into rate cuts like we've been talking about. Yeah, Google around 158. Meta, we'll stop with Meta. We'll go back to altcoins. Meta maybe losing a little bit of steam here. I still want to see it hit this 1618 fib. By the way, the different fibs I'm drawing here, you can draw a fib retracement from the prior high to the low, take it off log, and that'll show you these fib extensions that tend to be good price targets. But eventually when it's moving up, you're just drawing from the most recent low to high, and that's a good way to tell. But yeah, I'm still targeting that 567 area as key resistance for Meta. But maybe it comes down and starts to bounce off one of these moving averages. My cat says hi. You can't see or hear, but she's headbutting me right now. Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Let's go back to crypto. Let's talk about this for a second, because we've hit those key levels for Bitcoin dominance that I was talking about. Okay, let's go back to Bitcoin dominance and quick refresher. This means that 57.26% of all money that's in crypto is in Bitcoin. Okay, we've hit our key trend lines. I think that there's possibly one more push or flush out for altcoins possibly coming, and we could get into the 60 to 62% range. I think that's what's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe this is just topping at our trend lines. And if so, our trend lines called it. But I think this could break and people wouldn't expect it. That's a scenario I'm looking for. I'm not married to it, but it's a possibility, because just like rate cuts in 2019, what happened? With rate cuts, crypto still corrected a little bit. Now, maybe the correction's being more priced in. I don't know. But if that's the case, let's put this on auto so it doesn't look weird. But if it does something similar to what it has before, whether settling on the 50 or 100 moving average, that would go in line with dominance breaking up above the trend lines a little bit. It'd go in line with a little bit of sell-off, with the rate cuts, just like the chart's showing us. Even in bullish scenarios, it's okay to have a bit of a correction. Get everyone freaking out. Yes, the recession's here. The recession's here. We have rate cuts. Oh my God, the rate cuts have always called the top. But again, for those of you who weren't here for the first part, how big are they cutting rates? That's the difference. 50 basis points, head for the hill, start worrying. Not that we can't go up for a little bit, okay? We might still have a couple months. So the rate cut's a very important time to the next month or two. That window, whether we start breaking back up or further down, I think is going to show us a lot. Anyways, dominance. My God, stay on track, man. Here's why dominance is important. Because when dominance goes up, you can see that's not great for altcoins, for all us altcoin owners out there. This includes Bitcoin mining stocks, by the way. Bitcoin mining stocks are altcoins, essentially. They follow the market just the same. And again, I like Bitcoin mining stocks because I can see their balance sheet. I can do a lot more research on them. But when dominance goes down, that can be good for alts. Okay? So going back over to the dominance chart, let's move on over here. Again, we talked about how on the weekly it could come down a little bit. It likes the 20-week moving average. It could come down to that. It only got down in this overall bull run to the 200. Once it got above the 200, came down, but it's pretty close. Okay. Might we see something like that? Well, the 200 is now flipped under the 50. Okay, so you'd say, okay, that's bullish. Could we see something like that? Maybe. I don't know. But if this was the top, just for argument's sake, what's happened before? Well, you can see here when Bitcoin dominance has gone down, what are the dates here? You can see the dates at the bottom. December of 2020. Okay, that's when Bitcoin was breaking its 2017 all-time highs. And then by May 10th, this was alt season in here. We had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's say 2 months. We had about 2 months where alts were exploding. I couldn't believe it. There were some alts I didn't know, by the way, full transparency. When we had 2018, I didn't know if Bitcoin, I think a lot of us who have been in crypto since 2017, I didn't know if Bitcoin was coming back because this looked like garbage right here. But then it started to, okay, so I was able to get some alts and I was still holding on to some from back here. And so December 2020, let's find that. December 2020. Oh yeah, it's right here, the yellow line. This was go time. All right, so we had a couple months, boom, there's the top. 2017, you can see right there. Okay, now dominance, you'll see dominance fell within like a month until it was January 8th. January 8th was the big red day. I'll never forget it. I bought Tron at 1/5 of a cent. Got like a 200x or something crazy, or 100x. But you can see when Bitcoin dominance, look at that, has the sell signals. Honors that too. 1, 2, 3, 4, January 8th. That was the end of alt season. So we had a month down. We had about 2 months down. Are we going to get 3 months down, where we just slowly go? I don't know. I mean, sometimes those patterns, they only mean something if they continue. And it doesn't have to. But I would say I'm looking for the average, 6 weeks where we just tank. Right now, we're still positive, little resistance. But unless Bitcoin dominance breaks under that 20-week, I'm not going to say alt season and the top is coming yet. But again, that's why I'm looking at altcoins during all this time, dollar cost averaging in. Like I told you guys, I showed you ways that I do it, different strategies I use. Nothing in these videos is financial advice, but I'm just accumulating and hoping. Let me hydrate. Hoping and banking on similar situations as we've had before. I'm sure there's going to be differences. So those are some things I'm looking for alt season. Let's go back to that picture. So if dominance is going up, not always that great for alts. They can go sideways. Alts, overall the alt market will look like this, but yes, there are going to be alts that still go up. And that's why it's important to research. Now, as far as what altcoins there are, I'll tell you this right now. When I was in Bitcoin in 2017, a lot of those 2017 coins that did great here did not do as great here. A lot of them that I saw only got back up to the former all-time high or the 786 fib. Let's start running through a bunch of those, okay? So we have Cardano. What did Cardano do? If there's any you want me to take a look at, comment below. Cardano is not the best chart for Cardano. Let's go. Maybe it's the US dollar one. Yeah. All right. So Cardano, it hit the 1618 macro fib, got almost up to the 2618, but it got between the 1618 and 2618. So Cardano did pretty good. You could have gotten the dips on Cardano at around 5 cents, and it went all the way up to $3. So Cardano, I'll say that was a success as far as 2017 to 2021. Okay, let's take a look at XRP. A lot of you guys, the XRP video pissed off a lot of people, but it was necessary. I'm so sick of, oh, we're losing viewers here. XRP only got to the 786 in 2021. Now, everyone's saying these excuses about lawsuits and stuff. You can see here, XRP, when we draw that macro fib, high to low, 786 is all it's got. So what's the 786 for XRP? That's at $1.30. I'm not going to change my view on XRP unless it breaks $1.30. Bitcoin Cash. Yeah, let's do BCH. Which one's going to be best? Bcash. Man, some of these just have so much damn stuff. Let's go to the Coinbase one. Ooh, okay. Yeah, Bcash. Man, look, Bitcoin Cash 2017 got up there. Let's draw a fib from the high to the low. Look at that. Didn't even get to the 786. Almost did. But just like we were talking about, 786 is important. So if Bitcoin Cash only gets to the 786 again, and look at that. What happened in April of this year? March, April, it only got almost back to the 786, just like before. And I've heard some people talking about this. 2021 or 2024 March was the top. There's an argument for that narrative. I don't believe that because dominance hasn't dropped yet. But maybe that's all we get from Bitcoin Cash. DNT, this was another one I was in. Okay. DNT touched, even got a little bit above the former all-time high, but it just like revisited back to it. Now look at this recent pump. Almost got up to the 786, kind of like Bcash. Crypto Golfer, this run Solana is my only alt. Learned my lesson last cycle. Yeah, dude, I'm just like you. I have like my main handful of alts, my 3 to 5. But then, I talk to some of my crypto buddies and they tell me about this project or that project, all this BS. And this is, I've learned my lesson in 2017, 2021 about all the research. I have researched so many altcoins that, promise you the moon and look great on paper, and not going to lie, when I do my altcoin of the day videos and I talk about Aerodrome, XRP, hey, I'm just being honest. Like I have to throw the research out the window at a certain point with crypto. People get so bent out of shape, oh, the utility. Okay, like let's be honest about this. What tangible utility do we have with crypto? It's been over a decade and a half. The only places I've seen, this is just my observation, the only places I've seen crypto exchange machines, tangible utility, I'm doing air quotes, has been in not good areas or neighborhoods and in third world countries I've traveled to. That is that has been my honest to God observation. So I don't want to hear all this utility stuff because I've seen so many promising utility projects not do well with the charts, with the price action. And you could say, well, that's just the charts. It can be manipulated. Yeah. But at a certain point, if it has good, tangible, useful utility and is good for the future, people are going to be buying it. They're going to be loading money into it. So as far as, so back to your point, crypto golfer, Solana has one of the best looking charts to me. And this is what I noticed in 2021. In 2017, there is all these new promising altcoins, all this utility, Tron. I promise I'm getting to Solana. I'll get there. But with Tron, I want to find the good chart. I think it's this one. There's better ones out there. With Tron, all this utility, this one's done better than others. But, you research Justin Sun is like the Chinese Sam Bankman-Fried. I can't believe it. I got Tron down here. And I didn't sell it up here. I was being a greedy bastard. I was still able to sell at a profit, regardless and make good money. But, if I was being greedy and sold early January, could add good profit. So, that's why it's good to have an exit plan. Learn my lesson the hard way. But, Tron, God, you draw a fib for this guy. Tron looks great. But again, the research I've done about Justin Sun, I am not touching Tron. Reminds me a lot of Sam Bankman-Fried, China version. But yeah, look at that 786 level. From the high to the low, it only got back up to the 786 in 21. So now you can see if we drew a fib high to the low, there's no denying it's making new highs. So we'll see. Tron looking better than the others. Let's go over to Solana. Solana and Coinbase. Yep, this is the one I've been drawing. 786, important level again. There was a chart I was looking at as far as the biggest altcoins out there and how they're growing by market cap. So we can go to coinmarketcap.com. I need to find this chart. But it was showing, like, they had it on a graph where each one was color-coded. And even though Bitcoin goes up in price, its share of the overall crypto pie gets a little smaller. But the area that was growing the most was for Solana. Not XRP, not Doge, not Cardano, but Solana. So Solana wasn't a 2017 or 2021 altcoin. This is a newer altcoin. Okay, it came out, when did it premiere? Well, later, mid 21. Had that top in November. Okay, so it did top in November 21. All right, I take some of that back. But overall, here's what I'll say, guys. I rather get some of the semi-newer altcoins than the very old ones. I think there's more promise in that. That's why I look at Solana, Chainlink, the Bitcoin mining stocks. The Bitcoin mining stocks overall have looked pretty good. You know, Chainlink, yes, you can make the argument it's a little bit older. I think Near was one. You know, Caspa, that's a new one people have been talking about. I don't know if that one's on Coinbase, so full disclosure. I'm just Immutable X. That looks like a promising one, in my opinion. HBAR, man, I remember HBAR being a very talked about altcoin for 2021. I don't know if it's going to do as good next time around. There's this one crypto channel I watched, and God, the guy had good analysis, but every other video was about HBAR. I'm like, God damn, please quit shilling HBAR. Dog with hat. Number 50 overall altcoin. This is why people don't take crypto seriously. Dog with hat. My God. Yeah, so you can't tell me about utility in crypto in one sentence and then, you know, yeah. And then turn around and be like, well, you know, top 50, you know, there's almost $2 billion in dog with hat. Like, what the hell? And, you know, my essential question that I think about a lot is, where does this money come from? What money is going into these cryptos? I've heard a variety of things, you know, in the research I've done, that other governments like El Salvador and others, and like black market money will go in, like, and it's always a little bit before the top, and it's a way to put their money in somewhere, in a random place, somewhere safe. But then when retail sees that random spot in crypto pumping, was retail dumb money do, they get in, and then this dark web money, I don't know what the right way to call it, takes out their money at a profit. So I don't know truly where all this magic money comes from, you know, to put $2 billion in dog with hat. And the Russians, Chinese, I don't know. But Solana haters say it's a VC coin. I follow VC money all day long. Last I checked, they're in the business of making money. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. You know, though, I will say, like, there's been altcoins even last time, projects that I know are dead, like DNT District, and it still went up to the former all-time high. I'm like, why is this pumping? Who is putting money in this? Again, I don't know if I'll ever get an answer. No, there's a way to track wallets and addresses and all that in the crypto space. But, you know, crypto, it's a very strange place. Jupiter, Jasmy. That's kind of a newer-ish talked about one. You know, let's go back to Solana. So, you know, going back to Solana, what was I saying? Its piece of the pie has been growing as compared to XRP and others. And so I think, in my opinion, Solana might be the altcoin this next cycle. Now, as of right now, I do not own any Solana. So I'm not shilling Solana. I'm just giving my honest opinion. Okay, when you look at this chart, this is a stronger looking chart than pretty much every altcoin out there. Okay, this resembles Bitcoin. This looks a lot like Bitcoin's chart. I'm curious to see what the overall drawdown was. 40%, you know, so God, it doesn't look like 40% here, does it? You figure 40% was way down here. But that's what that move shows from the high to the low. Went from 194 to 110, but it got back above the 786. Fed quite nicely. You could set a Solana buy order. Just looking at the TA, you know, somewhere between 120 and 125. Yeah, if you don't want to miss it, you could set a buy order here at 124. But, you know, if Solana did break through that, by the way, look at that, 100. The 100-week moving average is at 100, around there, and we have good price action support here. So if it broke underneath that, you know, $100 for Solana would be a target. And then 70, 69, nice. Let's take a look at some possible price targets. Because I've heard, people talking about 10,000 for Solana. Does that match up with some of our... Sorry about the buzzing there. Does that match up with some of the fib extensions? Do we have... Oh, yeah. Look at that. 1,000 Sol, 3618, 4236. It'd be right in there. So right now the market cap is at 70 billion. So reverse that math, if you will. Well, 150. We could do that into 900. Okay, that would be like a 7x, something like that. Yeah, 7 times 100 is 700. 7 times 50 is 350. So 700 plus 350 is 1,050. Puts us right in there. So a 6, 7x. I could see that happening for Solana. This, again, resembles to me the Bitcoin chart. We have this descending channel. Let's quit stretching this out. We have this descending channel, just like Bitcoin. This was right around the ETF, I'm sure. Yep. Just like Bitcoin. But Bitcoin went up into the ETF, and then it sold off. Crypto Golfer owns a boatload of Solana. That's okay. You can chill it, man. I hope you make money off it. I really do. I don't have Solana now. By the time it was pumping, I didn't want to be greedy. I'm more into Link and Bitcoin miners and some other alts. Fetch is one I got in early on, by the way. I really like Fetch. I was able to get some Fetch down here, man. This is nice. And then I did sadly take some profits here. I had to because I had an emergency situation with one of my pets. And though I had money, I was like, I'm going to pull from crypto. I didn't want to, but I wanted to make sure I had enough funds. So, man, emergency vet appointments can be a lot. And not just that, just know pet insurance companies are a freaking scam. I'm not going to go on a random tangent, but just, do know if you have a pet, they cost money to take care of. I don't like when people rehome their pets, by the way. My pets are my children. I don't mind using my crypto gains for it, but still have some Fetch, so was happy about that. It's holding on to this by a thread. This 100-week moving average came back up to the former all-time high, gray line. Okay, you have the 50-week moving average, but if Fetch gets rejected again, would I buy more Fetch if it stabilizes around 60 cents? I think I would. What does Fetch have going for it? This AI, Fetch.ai. And plus, I'll tell you some bullish news for Fetch. I just saw some FUD articles about it. I'm like, man, whenever there's FUD, typically they're trying to flush out retail and then the whale's buying more at the bottom. So, I wouldn't mind getting more Fetch at 62 cents. And if, going all the way back full circle, if we're in this dark green scenario and we get an AI bubble to go even further, like a .com bubble, like we had in the late 90s, Fetch.ai is one of the top AI quote-unquote coins. Now, what does it do as far as crypto AI? I don't know if it does anything. Like I said, you can say all the promising utility BS you want. If I'm not using it, I don't know. I'm not a total buyer into it. But, yeah, there's a way to make money. Just slap AI on the name. I'm slowly scaling out of Sol once it gets above 350. That's a good plan, I think. Let's go back to Sol. Let's take a look at some of them scaling targets. All right, so we have this off. Here would be some areas to watch for. The 1618 at 416. Well, all these, you can see them. The 2618 at 669. 3618, when it's getting up here, I would be like, oh boy. But again, if this were to do a 6 to 7x, what would that do to the market cap? So even at just a 6x, we're at 70 billion. So 6 times 7, 43, right? Now, I've talked about this before. I pissed off a lot of people in my XRP video where they were saying market cap doesn't matter. Oh, it's the market cap argument. But, guys, I'm just saying, in 2021, we had Doge going to near 100 billion, okay? Most alts are not getting to 100 billion. And if they do, that's probably the top form. Now, Solana's already at 70 billion in it. And if this is this cycle's Doge or this cycle's XRP, like in 2017, what would be my most bullish case scenario for market cap? I kind of, you see how I reverse engineer it? Like my most bullish case scenario, I could see something around where Ethereum is now, 3 to 400 billion. That's just, I'm just doing by comparison. I know market cap organically evolves with inflation. I know that. But, if this has a market cap above 200 billion, yes, I think that's smart. So you're talking about 350 for Sol. That's a little bit over a 2x. So that'd be around 150 to 200 billion. Yeah, I'd say that's a very fair target, just by using the market cap argument there. So, some of these smaller altcoins, like if you're into them, ones that are around 1 to 5 billion, I'm looking for market cap around the 30 to 50 billion. And if any get to 100, great. Jasmy, where's Jasmy? It's like around 50. There's Bonk. Oh, Jasmy got up a bit and then it fell down. Number 64 altcoin. Yeah, so this one, for these smaller altcoins, this is more in line with the market cap right now of, some of our Bitcoin miners. A lot of these, there's so many alts that are between 1 to 3 billion. There's a bunch. And then you see there starts to be some separation, but fewer. There's only 4 altcoins in the 5 billion, 4 altcoins in the 4 billion. The 3 billion altcoins, there's 5 of them. The 2 billion, 3 billion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see how the number is going way up. So those altcoins between the $1 to $3 billion mark, I'd be watched for. Crypto Golfer, thanks for stopping by, bud. Appreciate you commenting below. It's been fun having my own private chat. Thanks for another great stream. You're welcome, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate all you guys, all you subscribers. This channel, again, there's so many toxic crypto communities out there and channels where people cannot disagree or share their insight. I want to do something different. And again, answer the most basic essential questions like, is now a good time to buy? What are some indicators on when you buy? Of course, nothing's financial advice. Where might this go? I try to do my best to answer those questions. And if you disagree, that's fine. Please share why, and we'll look into it. So we can have good conversations about that. And I enjoy those genuinely. So if you guys, the rest of you 10 people that are here, if any of you guys want me to take a look at any of these altcoins, Bitcoin mining stocks, or stocks, I'll open the chat up for any requests for the next few minutes. But while any of you guys might be typing, just a quick recap. We started off by showing big important news. Powell says it's time to adjust policy, which means Fed's going to be cutting rates in September. But he also said that he doesn't think the bar for 50 basis points is high. So not that it's off the table, but it's not likely. And the reason that's important, when the Fed cuts very large and fast, it's not good in the short term for markets. But when they cut slow, we can still go up a bit. Look, 25 basis point cut, This was before COVID, obviously. Still went up a bit. I do believe we still would have gone down without COVID, maybe a 20-30% correction regardless. But that created a flash crash scenario. 1998, I think we're in a very similar situation to 1998, where they might cut a little bit, hold rates, inflation could get sticky, and then they're like, oh crap, we might have to raise again. And what happened when they pause and raise rates? Well, things can still go up. So as they cut rates, we might go down with those cuts or into the cuts. But if they're not cutting that much, then we could have that euphoric blow off top. AIbubble.com bubble. Okay, I'm leaning towards this dark green being the scenario. Still having an eventual hard landing, something like a 40-50% correction, but not financial advice. I'm not going to be missing out on dollar cost averaging in when there's 30% corrections. I read somewhere that a 30% correction in the market in stocks for the S&P happens once a decade. But the 40% corrections happen every 20 years, 50%. And these numbers probably not completely accurate, but they're close to this. And 50% corrections happen once on average every like 40 to 50 years. So, if we have a once in a decade opportunity, you don't want to miss that. So that was our recap. And you can see into the rate cuts, we just had a little flash sell off. Was it comparable to this or this? You can see this is closer to a 10% drawdown. What happened with stocks, with the S&P? Let's go over to the daily. Let's fix this chart. Did we already have our big? Yeah, that's this 10%. That's closer to this. You can see the numbers right there. So maybe we already had this. Maybe we start getting higher lows and start taking off. Again, this is the 1998 style comparison. I'm just going to wrap this up here, do a quick summary. And yes, what stocks are doing affects crypto. But if we get a 1998 style scenario, by the way, you can see the dates at the bottom, 50 basis point cuts, big rate cuts, fast rate cuts, recession, markets capitulate, 40, 50%. This was almost 60%. 1998, people were saying we are in a bubble. And yes, things are different, recent inflation, all that. But if they cut slow and light and then pause, inflation's sticky, and then they start the raise again, the market was still going up at this time. See these dates at the bottom? Later 2000. Again, we're looking at 98 to 2000. Sorry for giving any of you guys a seizure with my scrolling. Trying to be gentle with it. Where was 1998? So here's where the Fed was cutting rates. Okay, a little bit of a correction. But then you can see later 2000 when they started cutting fast and heavy, it was here. So once stocks got back to the 100 moving average, 100 week, it was really down. Now, typically the 50-week moving average is your bull market separator. As long as we're above the 50, we're still bullish. But in this little bear trap here, I don't think that's too dissimilar from today. But, man, today we are even more stretched out. A little bear trap there, but still continuing. So every time is a little bit different. Those are things I'm watching for. And then looking at Bitcoin, what could that mean for Bitcoin? We just had that big 30% correction. We have a buy signal now. So, if this continues to go up, and by the way, this is why I use Heikin-Ashi candles, cuts out the noise, we could be bullish, get back up to that 69 level, and, we've hit it, this area overall, one solid time, twice, three times, fourth time, and plus we're on the underside of this trend line, that it's been hitting and snaking around since the bottom. Fourth time, I would feel more strongly about it going up and through it. And then some of the targets, excuse me, some of the targets, we're going to take our fib off log. Trying to wrap everything up as quick as I can here. We have these extensions around the 1.618's at 100K, the 2.618's at 150. The 3.618 is at around 200. Okay. And closing out with the rainbow chart. Rainbow chart. If we start hitting those numbers, you know, let's say we get to 100K by the end of this year, which I think I'm leaning in that direction. Okay, we'll see if it happens. Where would 100K be? It'd be right in that yellow box. Okay, now what's interesting about that is that last time Bitcoin was in the yellow box before completing a bull run, that's when it was breaking above the 2017 all-time highs. Now, we'd already be well above the all-time highs before. But if it gets in that yellow box, you know, going over from yellow to orange by, I don't know, August next year, something close to a 4-year cycle, I'm looking at those orange boxes, 137 to 225K. Again, that was our 2.618 and 3.618 fib extensions. Should we get another 4-year cycle-ish type scenario, it's within those upper ranges, and that's when I would be looking at taking profit when we're up here. You can see we've been going down in these colors from the max bubble territory, next color down, next color down. Are we only going to get here? I mean, even if that's the case, that would be that fourth box down, 137 to 175K. That 2.618 fib at 150K, guys, that's right there. You know, diminished returns, logarithmic regression, again, factors of 10. It's not a bad thing, okay? We also, each having, go up a zone or a color. Each having, we've gone up a color. We did it again. So, yeah, that 150K mark and somewhere around a 4-year cycle, that's what I'm leaning towards. You can see right here, if we just take the average from every halving to the ultimate peak for that cycle, that puts us right around August. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly when it's gonna happen, though that would be kind of funny if it was within a few weeks of this. We'll see. I don't know. But I'm more curious to see what it's going to do here. When you average from breaking the former all-time high to the eventual peak, that puts us here at the end of this year. And we have a few things getting us in this area. So let me take the fib off log scale one more time. We have a lot of confluence here. We have the 1.618 fib at 100K hitting this average. We have the tops of the 2021 cycle getting close to there. And then we have this trend line Bitcoin's been honoring getting close to there. So I'm very curious to see if 100K Bitcoin by the end of the year can happen. We'll see if it happens. Again, no guarantees. Try to make predictions. You look like an idiot more times than not. But where Bitcoin's going to be at the end of this year, it's going to be very telling, in my opinion. But most important news, rate cuts. You see how many days this is. Within a couple months, on average, we have had a good idea where we are going. Are we breaking up new all-time highs, or are we breaking down? And if we are breaking down, that's typically what happens. Breaking up, we get that. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Nothing in these videos is financial advice. And yeah, please subscribe, do all the YouTube things. So take care, guys. Have a wonderful day.